Deep in the Louisiana swamplands, a $30 billion anomaly is quietly rising from the mud. It is designed to consume more power than the entire city of New Orleans, and you might be secretly paying for it. This is Meta's Project Hyperion, an artificial intelligence supercluster spanning an area 4 times the size of Manhattan's Central Park. But what is happening behind these heavily guarded gates is not just an AI revolution. It is the epicenter of a hidden financial loophole, a mechanism designed to shift billions of dollars in invisible debt onto the public. And the backlash is so severe that even massive oil cartels are stepping in to stop it. To understand the sheer magnitude of what is happening in Richland Parish, you have to look at the numbers. Project Hyperion is not a standard data center. It is an industrial beast, a 4 million square foot fortress built exclusively to train the most advanced large language models on Earth. At peak construction, over 5,000 workers will be on site. But the true terror of Hyperion is its appetite. The facility is engineered to demand a staggering 2 to 5 gigawatts of continuous, uninterrupted power. To put that into perspective, 5 gigawatts is enough electricity to power roughly 3.7 million standard American homes. It is an energy draw so massive that it threatens to destabilize the entire regional grid. And this insatiable hunger for power brings us to the first major anomaly of Project Hyperion. How does one of the wealthiest companies in the world pay for a $30 billion compound without letting Wall Street know? The answer lies in a shadowy financial entity, an off-balance sheet vehicle that managed to bypass standard regulatory scrutiny. It is a financial trick so brilliant and so dangerous that it could rewrite the rules of global capitalism. But before we expose the classified SEC documents and the exact mechanism Meta used to hide this debt, make sure to hit the subscribe button for Atlas Classified. We expose the hidden mechanics of global power, and you will not want to miss the investigations we have coming next. Now, let's look at the ghost company known as Beignet Investor. Wall Street despises massive capital expenditures. If Meta put $30 billion of debt on its public balance sheet, its stock would plummet. So, they engineered a phantom structure. In late 2025, a special purpose vehicle, or SPV, was created under the codename Beignet Investor. Meta partnered with a private credit giant called Blue Owl Capital. Blue Owl put up $2.5 billion in equity and took an 80% controlling stake in the ghost company. Because Meta only owns 20% and doesn't control the board, the entire $30 billion liability practically vanishes from their financial statements. It is legally classified as someone else's problem. Beignet Investor then went to the bond markets, securing $27 billion in debt from titans like PIMCO and BlackRock. But the trickery didn't stop there. Standard accounting rules state that long-term leases for data centers must be recorded as financial debt. So, Meta broke their leases into 4-year chunks. Rating agencies classify these short chunks as operating leases, meaning zero long-term debt appears on Meta's books. To seal this unprecedented deal, Meta obtained a private letter from the SEC, effectively giving them the green light to proceed with this accounting sorcery. They also provided a hidden $28 billion residual value guarantee, essentially promising to pay investors if they abandon the project, but hiding that massive risk deep within the footnotes of their annual reports. They insulated themselves from the risk. This private credit boom means that the risk isn't just contained to Wall Street billionaires. The funds providing the $27 billion in debt are heavily backed by state pension plans and everyday retirement accounts. The systemic risk of the AI infrastructure boom is quietly migrating into your 401k, but someone still has to generate the 2 gigawatts of power, and that is where the local utility monopoly, Entergy Louisiana, steps in. Entergy approached the state regulators with a colossal proposal: build over 5,000 megawatts of new natural gas power plants, and lay down 240 miles of high-voltage transmission lines. The cost? Billions of dollars. And here is the truly terrifying part. While Meta claims they will cover the immediate costs, The lifespan of a natural gas plant is over 30 years. Meta's leases are only for 4 years. If the AI bubble bursts or Meta simply decides to walk away, everyday citizens will be left holding the bag for billions in stranded, useless infrastructure. The audacity of this plan sparked a rebellion from the most unlikely of places. When you think of environmental activists fighting gas plants, you picture grassroots organizations. But the pushback against Project Hyperion is being led by a coalition that includes ExxonMobil and Dow Chemical. Yes, you heard that correctly. The largest petrochemical cartels in the world are protesting a data center. Why? Because these massive industrial plants require incredibly cheap electricity to survive. They realize that Entergy is using its monopoly power to force existing, captive ratepayers to subsidize a private tech giant's infrastructure. ExxonMobil and Dow Chemical filed formal protests, arguing that Meta's supercluster will skyrocket electricity rates across the board, effectively forcing the oil industry to pay for the AI arms race. And making matters worse, Meta's subsidiary, Energy, applied for federal permission to sell excess power back to the grid at wholesale rates. The tech company isn't just consuming power. They are positioning themselves to become a dominant energy broker. So how did an infrastructure project of this magnitude get approved without a massive public outcry? The answer is legally enforced silence. Investigations revealed that dozens of local elected officials, from mayors to state senators, were forced to sign strict non-disclosure agreements before the project was ever announced. The citizens of Richland Parish were completely locked out of the democratic process. Citizens wanted to know why heavy machinery was destroying their roads, why their environment was changing overnight, and their elected representatives literally could not legally answer them. The Louisiana governor lauded the investment as a historic revitalization of a beautiful rural area. But the reality on the ground tells a much darker story, and now they are suffering the consequences. In the nearby town of Holly Ridge, the impact has been devastating. The massive draw on local aquifers has left residents dealing with brown tap water. The unstable grid, desperately trying to supply the construction site, has resulted in unannounced power shutoffs lasting for days in the blistering heat. Meanwhile, the influx of 5,000 construction workers has caused hyperinflation. Local rent and housing prices have skyrocketed, displacing generations of families who can no longer afford to live in their own hometown. Meta promised over $300 million in community grants, but for the people living in the shadow of this behemoth, a new public park doesn't fix a bankrupt power grid. The construction of Project Hyperion represents a chilling new paradigm. Tech giants are no longer just software companies. They are industrial nation-states. By manipulating private credit markets through off-balance sheet shell companies and leveraging utility monopolies to socialize the costs of their infrastructure, they are rewriting the rules of the physical world. The artificial intelligence revolution requires an ocean of capital and an endless supply of electricity. And whether it is through inflated utility bills, destabilized local economies, or systemic financial risk hidden in pension funds, the true cost of the AI arms race is being passed directly to you. The financial trickery used for Project Hyperion is just the beginning. If you want to see how this exact same strategy is being used to quietly buy up the global water supply, click the video on your screen right now. The truth is stranger than you think. Stay vigilant, and I will see you in the next one.